Now the pressure is being ramped up to stop that. Facebook, Twitter, Google, and Apple are being asked to turn over more data on the terrorist group and their users. Should they be doing more? Security expert Scott Schober is with Berkeley Varitronics Systems and joins us back here on Arise Exchange. Let's start, Scott, with what these companies are doing right now.
Well, they're doing a lot. They are actually monitoring now, and they do feed this back to the federal government. But again, you got to remember that's not their primary job. And these companies are huge. If you think about the amount of traffic they have, Facebook, 1.55 billion users. Twitter, you've got 100 billion tweets a day. YouTube, it's huge, over 1 billion users, and I think 80% of that is outside the U.S. So all of this data and tweets and files and pictures and all of that stuff, they can't possibly monitor all that. They'd go out of business. That's not their focus, really. But they are complying, and they do monitor from time to time. If there's certain keywords that pop up, they will share that with the government.
How aggressive should they be? Facebook says that it obviously does not want these users on their sites, and that there is this monitoring program that goes on, and that anybody who violates their terms of service in hate speech gets booted off. How more aggressive can they be, and should they be?
Well, they probably could be a little bit more aggressive. There is that fine balance between privacy, obviously, freedom of speech, and trying to prevent terrorists from putting things up there. And they don't know what's real, what's not real. So it's hard for them to really police it 100%.
Well, and there was this issue when Russia invaded Crimea and the Ukraine. There were these anti-Russian comments made by some Ukrainian rebels. And because the complaints came in, quote, saying this was hate speech, Facebook blocked those posts.
Yeah, completely blocked.
So you could say that Facebook took a side there, and Facebook gives that as an example of not wanting to be involved.
Yeah, it's a difficult decision from a corporate entity. What are they going to do there? If they take a decision, it could also affect their customer base. So they've got to balance that out.
And here's also, the issue is that these Facebook posts that this woman terrorist from San Bernardino posted on Facebook, and the other Twitter announcements, these are public posts. Yep. Why? It sounds to me that the U.S. government, with its sophistication, should simply be able to track these keywords itself.
And they can, and they do. They want some help, I guess, to make it faster and easier. And the other thing, remember, too, people that are using Twitter that are terrorists and Facebook and the others, they constantly are adjusting. The second that they move in and close down these accounts, within minutes they go onto another account. And they use other apps as well. Telegram's another very popular one. End-to-end encryption. They could send out group messages.
So that's a separate issue, because Apple has a very tough encryption policy.
Same thing there.
And that we can't crack. For example, the government can't crack, or says they can't crack. So then how much should Apple and these companies give the keys to the government to unlock it? And that's part of the pushback here.
Yeah, I personally don't feel that they should. The whole reason they did that is to protect privacy. People were complaining. The government's monitoring too much, so they wanted to see an end to it. Apple says, hands off, we're out of it now. We can have secure communication between Apple users, and it's encrypted.
So what do you think is going to be the fallout here? Is how much will the political pressure be on these companies, and how much maybe Congress will get involved and the courts get involved?
Well, I think everybody's going to start getting involved. We saw yesterday, even with Hillary Clinton, she was pretty strong in wanting Apple and other companies to work closer with government entities and share this and not put up so much encryption, allow backdoors and other things. But I do think it's probably a mistake if you go too far with that.
And there has been a history in this country where government has teamed with companies, and we go back to the blacklisting days of Hollywood, where it was not so technologically advanced, where companies felt compelled to work with the government. You can't always trust federal prosecutors and the federal government to do the right thing, and one court after another has said that.
Yeah, it's a good point. And we do find that they have loopholes, and they find backdoors and other ways where they'll access the data in other countries. So you got to be real careful.
However, clearly Americans are right to be upset that this woman went on Facebook, announced her intentions pretty much, and nobody said anything.
Nobody did anything about it.
And that, by the way, comes down to not just Facebook, but her so-called friends in her circle and people who see this. It's up to everybody to maybe play a little bit of a role here without necessarily ratting out your neighbor for not taking out the trash.
Yeah, you really make a beautiful point. If somebody sees something within your network, you should speak up and let them know if there's a threat there.
Scott Schober, thank you.
Thank you.